Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Podcast. I'm Anne Alvares, parent coach, school counselor, and mother of two. Do you sometimes struggle with your parenting role? Do you notice that sometimes you're repeating patterns that you learned in your own childhood? Maybe you are carrying childhood pain that has not been healed, and you notice that it is showing up in your parenting with your own children. Perhaps you yell or get frustrated easily. Maybe you are directing them or telling them what to do all the time, and you notice that your actions are affecting your relationship with your children. Well, parents, I totally understand this. I came from childhood pain and I learned how to be a relational parent with my children. And I can teach this to you as well. This podcast is all about learning how to heal the childhood pain that we are carrying so that we can foster healthy relationships with our kids. Join us every week for a new show, and we will dive into the healing and the fostering of healthy relationships with our children. Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Podcast. I'm so excited today because I have a special guest. Her name is Jo Whitton. She is the mom to a preteen and the stepmom to teenagers, a parent coach, and the founder of the UK-based Invisible Thread. Welcome, Jo.
Oh, hi. Thank you so much for that introduction. So pleased to be here. And I
Great.
will add something to that, Anne, if I can.
Absolutely.
So, as well as being a parent coach here in England, in Devon, and meeting with parents face to face, I'm also a partner coach with Great Parenting Simplified, which is an international not-for-profit organisation supporting parents.
Amazing. All right. So I have a question for you. I know we've talked about this before off air, but what do you think is bullying? That's
Yes,
something
this is
that's
what we're going
really
to talk
concerning.
about today.
Yeah.
Epidemic that we're experiencing, right?
Hmm.
And what is it? Let's start there. The
Yes.
what and the whys. We use the word bullying, and I use that interchangeably with hyper controlling. All right, as a behavior in general. So I actually think hyper controlling behaviors, bullying behaviors, they're a pattern of different types of behaviors that you might see in your child. In the home, that might appear as bossiness, being very bossy with their siblings, trying to control their parents. And then at school, you might actually see that not only with other children, them putting trying to control that their peers around them at school, but even their teachers. When I talk about control, I mean things like social exclusion, trying to exclude others, trying to take control of the way play might go, depending on their age. It can be teasing behaviors, rudeness, insults, and of course, it can lead to physical harm.
And then in your opinion, is that a repeated behavior? Because that's one of the things that I think maybe confuses parents, because maybe there was a one-time thing that happened and then they they term it as bullying. But in your mind, is it
Sure.
repeated?
Yeah. We're talking about repeated longer term patterns of behavior. Obviously, if you're seeing this type of behavior for the first time, it should be seen as a warning sign and as an alarm bell that perhaps something's not right, and we'll come on to that. But yeah, in general, it's about that pattern.
Okay, and why do you think that children behave this way? Do you have is there a theory behind
There is, I mean, in child developmental psychology, there's theories that are rooted in this being that this is a behavior that is, or these behaviors are kind of giving you a picture that your child is overwhelmed and anxious. And there's many different reasons why they might be like that.
Okay,
And
I think
we'll come
that's,
on to that. But
yeah, I think that's so good to know that, because we see the outside, right?
yeah,
Behavior, but we don't try to figure out what's the inside, what's going on with the child inside. So I think that's
mm,
super, super helpful to know that they're feeling overwhelmed or
mm.
anxious. Okay,
Yeah, and I
so
mean, I'll give parents credit here as well. I mean, obviously, my clients absolutely are seeking support because they want to identify why these behaviours are happening. But
yes,
certainly in the school environment, it's not always looked at, that the iceberg model, right? It's not always looked
yes,
at underneath there.
absolutely. Okay, so how do we help our children with hyper controlling behavior?
How do we? I've got so many things I could say, and
What?
I think I'd like to start with it's just asking parents, if they're in this situation, to slow down in their response to this and try to remove the urgency that can lead them to get angry, want to fix straight away, want to punish, but to just slow the response down, find a way for them to keep themselves calm, their nervous system's calm, because to approach this, they need to be able to approach their child from a calm place.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to mention that as a starter.
Yeah, because if the parent is anxious themselves, or if they react with anger or with punishment, it makes it worse, right? We're we're
Well,
we're
if
we're
we, yeah,
feeding that dysregulation.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
If, like we said, that we've got a picture of overwhelm and anxiety. So if we bring anger and shame and punishment into the mix, what are we going to do? We're going to increase that.
Hmm.
So then we just carry on this in this cycle, and the child, and it's not helping the child, and you're not seeing a change.
Exactly. Okay, so
Yeah.
the first thing is, us as parents, we have to just calm ourselves down, make sure that we are responding and not reacting. And we are not being punitive. We're not being shaming, punitive, aggressive, showing anger. We're going to be like very Zen-like, right? Very, very calm and peaceful.
Well, we're going to try. We're going to
Yeah,
try. And if we're struggling to get to that in our
yes,
lives, then that's because there's genuine reasons why our cups are too full. So
yes,
reaching out for support from someone like yourself, someone like me,
yes,
getting the school involved, all of those things are going to help.
absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so first step is slow everything down. Remove the anger, the punishment, all that. Be calm. Okay, and then what? Then what? How do we respond to our child once we're calm?
So something that I think is really important is that as a parent, we kind of try and separate the behavior from our child, the separate things. And we try and remember when we're speaking to them about this, we try and remember their goodness and remind them of their goodness and their innocence.
I love
In
that.
Yeah,
I
do
love
you
that.
you know what I mean?
It totally speaks to me, because I think we forget, like we focus so much on the behavior, and we forget this is our child, when we love our child, right? So I
Yeah,
think
and their intention is not to be mean. Their intention is not to be angry and hurtful. That's not their intention. They're not acting from a place of choice.
yes,
And I think giving them the message that you know that, and reminding them of when they acted differently and they acted in a kind way. Look, there'll
yes,
be lots of examples. You'll be able to find them. This
yes.
is just one aspect of behavior that's happening.
And I think it's so important that we recognize that how we respond to our children is creating an internal dialogue about themselves. So we
It
have
is.
to be really mindful of how we're responding. So if we're responding like with the shame, with the punishment, then they're internalizing that they're bad, right? But if we're responding, like you said, reminding them, you're good. No, you've made good choices before. No, you've been
Mhm.
calm before. You handled this situation calmly. And we show them that they have the ability inside of them to handle this, or that they're not bad. I think that's so, so important.
Yeah, yeah. And you can
Yeah,
you can even go further and give examples of how you don't always make the best choices if you're feeling pushed or you're struggling with something, it's part of being human, and try and
exactly.
humanize it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and that we don't have to be perfect.
No, we're
We
not looking
we
for perfection.
Yeah, because we sometimes we lose our cool too.
Mhm.
And our kids need to know that this, like you said, this is part of being a human being. And we
Mhm.
can be forgiving and loving of each other still when we're
Mm.
acting our worst.
Yeah.
Right?
At the same time as acknowledging that this isn't behavior that we want them to take part in, and that we
Yes.
know that they don't feel good doing it, and we
Yes.
want to
Yes.
help them, that we
Yes.
know that it's because they're struggling, that they've fallen into this situation, and we're here to
Yes.
help them because we know it can't feel good.
Okay. So I love all of the work with the parent part about just like being calm, remembering that these are our children and the behavior is separate from them and our love for them. I love that. So then how do we respond? How do we respond to our child who is having a temper tantrum or bullying their sibling, having these hyper controlling behaviors?
Mm. I mean, for the most part, Anne, I'm going to keep coming back to the parents.
Okay,
I
because
am.
that's where our work
And
is.
that's
Okay.
where our work is. But there's things that the school can do, and there's things that the child can do for sure. But the first thing I'd say is I go back to what I talked about. This child is experiencing a spillage in terms of their cup being full. They're experiencing a spillage. And I like that analogy because it means that there's something you can do about it. So they're overwhelmed, they're worried, we call it anxiety, worry, what have you. Those things are weighing on them and causing them to behave in this way. So we look at that. What we do is we work with the family to look at that cup.
Mm,
Perhaps we put a little tap on the bottom of it, and we look at what we can do to let out some of that water
mhm. Okay.
and slowly drain it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
um
So yeah, go ahead.
And I have to say that this does involve a bit of a analysis of home life, of base camp, of
Okay.
what might be going, what might be tipping them over. And
So
that
like,
could be different for every child, but it's likely to be a mix of too much going into that cup. And that could be too much stimulation, too much screen time, too much information that's overwhelming them, or age inappropriate stuff to do with what's going on in the world, for example, or through movies that they're watching.
mhm,
Or it could be that there's too much activity and too many transitions, perhaps too many after school clubs, play dates, not enough time at home being with the parents.
yes.
The list goes on as to what could be filling the cup, and I would work with a family to slowly look at those things,
Okay.
because I'm talking about a cumulative load of stress. I've got some notes here and I just want to go back to it a minute.
So we as parents, we have to
Yes.
be aware, right? This is the awareness part of
Exactly.
figuring out the why our child is behaving this way, the hyper
Yeah.
controlling behavior.
Yeah.
right? And so it's
I
looking
mean,
at
it can be
everything.
as simple as the pace of their life. It can be too much, those examples I just gave. But of course, it could be more than that. There may have been a traumatic event. There
Yes.
may be a number of things, adverse childhood events, we call them,
Mhm.
that are going on for them. Their parents may be struggling. They may be divorce, separation. They may have lost a loved one. They may have lost a pet. They may suddenly have to live in two different houses and have forced separation from the parent that they feel so attached to. Like, do you see what I mean? Like,
Yes.
it's different for every family, and that's why looking at the cup with the family really helps.
Yes. And would you say like children behave this way also because they don't feel that they have control, like in their
Yes.
lives?
Yeah.
Because if you're an over controlling parent, or that you don't get input from your child about things. This is what I've experienced as a school counselor. When children don't get input on big decisions in their lives, then that comes out in their behavior.
Yeah, because they may not be able to name it as that themselves. They may not have that self-awareness
Hmm.
that, oh, hang on a minute, I don't get any control in all of this.
Yes, because a lot of times our parents make decisions, but they don't get input from their child. And like part of my counseling role is I help parents to see that the reason the child is behaving this way is because you didn't give them a choice. You didn't say, okay, you can stay at this school, but we will have to commute, but we are moving. Um, or you can go to the new school where we're located. What do you think would work? And I just feel like because you want, especially with teenagers, you want to have buy-in from them. And if you just make decisions without their input, then they feel like they have no control. And then what ends up happening is they don't go to school. They end up
Mm,
not going to school, right? Because they had no control, or they didn't want that decision and nobody asked them for their input, right?
mm.
So that's where I feel like we have to look at the two. Are we controlling and not considering our children's thoughts and feelings about big things, the big events in their lives?
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Giving choice, even in a separation situation, like
Oh,
how many
yes,
days,
you have to have a
right?
voice. Yeah.
Like how many days do you want to stay with dad? How many days do you want to stay with mom? What do you want the schedule to look like? Like these are the
Mhm.
things we need to give our children some control because their lives are pulled apart, right? Their home lives have changed.
Yeah, yeah. Wherever, absolutely. I mean, this links in to the importance for me as well, the importance for families to have a rhythm and routine as well. It doesn't have to be set in stone. Life's not like that. But it links because by having rhythm and routine, you a child does have more of a sense of control, more of a sense of safety and security.
Mhm.
And they,
Absolutely.
yes, involve them sometimes in, do you want to do this or that? And
Yes.
give them some choices, so that, yeah, you're not the one calling all the shots. But at the
Yes.
same time, you are, as the parent, you are the leader and you're kind of in a leadership role.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I am all for parent leadership. I'm just not for parent controlling,
Yeah.
you know, because
Yeah.
our children need to feel empowered. Um, and when we give them opportunity to make decisions, then we're building them up with self-esteem, and they can feel good about, oh, I get to have some input, in the family,
Yeah.
So that's really good. But yeah,
Oh,
so
it's
this,
so good.
yeah, right. Okay, so base camp, we have to look at base camp, and we have to be aware as parents what could be causing this hyper controlling behavior. And I love that you're using the word hyper controlling behavior instead of bullying, because I just think there's a lot of stigma with bullying. But this hyper controlling behavior is more neutral and not so shaming,
A
you know?
little bit more neutral, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
I do really, really like that. And I like that you encompassed like all of the ways it can present itself, you know? Because
yeah.
there's many, many ways. It's not just about hitting or name calling. You touched on social isolation. I see that in high school, the social
Oh,
isolation.
yeah, you do.
And
Yeah,
people sometimes don't think of that as bullying, but that actually is bullying, right? That is a hyper controlling behavior.
it
Um,
is. Yeah.
yeah. And then just yeah, so there's so many ways. Okay, so just a recap of the four things that you brought up that I think are so, so important. Slow everything down because your child is hyper controlling, hyper, right?
Hmm.
Got energy, this energy that needs to be calmed down. And as a parent, you got to be calm to be able to handle it effectively. And
Mm-hmm.
then we have to just remember that they're our child and that we love them and we separate the behavior from the child, right? Because they are not just that behavior, right? And there
Yeah.
are times when they are not hyper controlling and they behave well. And we have to remember that and recognize that, right? But they need help in this moment because they're feeling overwhelmed or anxious, right? So we have to help them with the anxiety and the overwhelm part. And then um, we have to take a look at and be aware of all the factors that could be contributing to this hyper controlling behavior. So we need to, are they stressed out because they don't have a moment of rest because they're
Well,
in
we all
all
need,
these
yeah,
activities?
we all need those pressure valve moments
Yes.
every day.
Yeah.
And,
So
if they're not getting that, then that's instantly something that you can make some changes to.
and would
I,
you
I
get
mean, I work with
okay.
parents to look at how they can reduce the amount of stuff in that cup, that reduce that overload. But I also look at what they can increase doing proactively to help the child feel more safe and secure and connected to them. And
Right.
maybe I think a lot of that is relevant to part two, when we talk about how to support a child might be on the receiving end of these behaviors. So we
Yes.
can touch on more of that then.
Okay.
I would love if we have time to mention um, things that you can do with the school, try and get the school to get involved and support, because obviously they're spending a lot of time at school.
Yes.
Some of these
Yes.
behaviors are happening at school.
Yes. Okay. So yes, please share.
Yeah.
What can we do?
Great. Well, in a nutshell, you definitely want to talk to the school about behavioural strategies that they put in place that's going to help your child. So not punishments, proactive things that they can do,
Okay.
including seeing how they can have a little bit more control over their days. What we want for these children is to give them a sense of mastery over something, for them to feel successful and good at something more often. They may
Yes.
well not be getting that feeling.
Yes.
Now, depending on the temperament of your child, there'll be different things that will really help them. And
Mhm.
I can give some examples, but some children actually need every day, like a daily dose of physical work, a little daily dose of heavy, challenging work for their bodies. Other
Mhm.
children, they might benefit more from more body movement and
Mhm.
dance and things like that.
Mhm.
So there's just a few ideas there. But again, I could
Yes.
talk about it for ages.
Yes, that's the body mind connection, right? And
Yes.
getting the endorphins going. And it helps just to calm everything down. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
if you have a child that's hitting or throwing things as part of their behaviors at school,
Yes.
is there an opportunity for them to do that safely anywhere? There's
Yes.
energy that needs to get out of their body through their arms or through their legs,
Yes.
It's
Yes.
thinking outside the box about the child's needs.
Exactly. Oh, I love that. I love those strategies. Okay, Joe, tell parents where they can find you and how they work with you.
Absolutely. Yes, you can find me on Instagram at
Okay.
Invisible Thread PC or
Okay.
Facebook. Okay. My
Okay.
email is jo at invisiblethreadpc.com.
Perfect.
All
Okay, so
right.
I will include your links with the show notes. So parents,
Please do.
you can take a look at Joe's work and you can reach out to her as well. We are here for parents, both of us. So thank you so
And
much,
there
Joe.
is a link in there, Anne. There's a link in there to a free mini video series from Great Parenting Simplified about how to use the stress as a parent to help you parent in a better way.
I
So check
love
that one out.
that. I love
Yeah.
that so much. Thank you so much, Joe. I learned so much myself. So I
Well,
really
that's
appreciate it.
fantastic.
Yes,
That's what we
yes,
want.
yes. I love the remove the behavior from the child. I love that. That's so good. So
Mhm.
thank you so much. I look forward to our next episode together. We will do a part two, parents.
Yeah.
So please stay tuned for the part two. And I thank you, Joe, so much for coming today. I think parents, this is going to be very helpful for you. And I appreciate your time. And I just want to say, parents, we've learned a couple things like slow everything down, separate the behavior from your child, and take a look at base camp. These are all the tips that Joe gave us. They are so helpful. So stay tuned for next time, parents. You know I love you. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Podcast. I'm so excited because we have a returning guest. Her name is Jo Whitton, and she is the mom to a preteen and stepmom to teenagers, parent coach, and the founder of the UK-based Invisible Thread. Welcome, Jo.
Hi,
Thanks for
Anne.
coming
Thank
back.
you again. Yeah, back for part two.
Perfect, perfect. All right, so last time we talked about bullying or hyper controlling behavior, right? And then part two, I thought maybe we can just talk about how do we as parents empower our children when they are faced with behavior or hyper controlling behavior from someone else.
Mm. Yeah, so when they're on the receiving end of the types of behavior we talked about in part one, right?
Yes, exactly.
Ah, and I can talk from quite a lot of personal experience as well as experience supporting other parents with this. So yeah, if I get emotional, you know why.
Yes, yes.
Um, I mean, it is such a tough one for parents because it can be so triggering to see our children hurting, right?
Yes.
And we get all the thoughts around they shouldn't suffer and we don't want them to be facing this and they shouldn't have to. And those thoughts can kind of make us react more and kind of activate our nervous system and trigger us a little bit. So I mean, I'm saying that because one, I empathize if you are going through this situation. I understand completely. And two, I think the first point is really about how you support yourself so that you're not coming from a place of overreacting to what they're going through, so that you're meeting your child's upset with a more of a calm approach. Because the overreacting won't help things simmer down. It won't necessarily help them to feel the feelings that they need to feel about the situation that they're in. In fact, it might keep them in more of a heightened state and their nervous system's more activated, and tip them over into behaviours that you'd rather not see. So working on staying calm ourselves, and then meeting your child where they're at with whatever feelings they're having, and helping them to express them. So I think it's kind of like keeping ourselves calm, not really saying a great deal when they're bringing this to us initially, but letting them have their feelings, whether that's that they need a good cry about it, or that they might have some anger that they want to express.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely. So really, like we have to really monitor ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right, coming. Okay.
Sorry, dog duty.
It's okay. We have to really monitor ourselves, that we're not overreacting, that we're in a calm place, and that we're giving the message that we can handle whatever they say.
Absolutely,
Right?
that's
It's
we
like
can
this is
handle it.
yeah, parenting with strength, right? This is what I call parenting with strength. Always showing strength to our children. And I love that you say we really have to let them express what their experience was and the emotions that came with it, right? And not say anything during that time, just let them express. Okay,
Yeah.
that's really great.
It is really testing to not go into fixing mode or judgment mode about the other child that's doing these behaviors.
Exactly.
These behaviors. It is really hard. And so I would say that you might need some support with that. And just to consider that, how are you supported during this while you go through this? I'm a big fan of listening partnerships, which gives you a chance to express your feelings. I don't know if you use those, Anne, but yeah, trying to.
I say we all need to vent, and we all need to express.
Yeah.
And sometimes we need to express to other parents or to close friends, uh, to help us process what we're feeling, right? And also just to let it out, but not to our children, because when we're in front of our children, we really want to show our children we can handle it. Everything's going to be okay, right? So I say yes. I'm totally with you on the partnership part, and I have over the years leaned into my friends with my parenting challenges, right? And then go back calmly to talk to our children, right? Because then we've let it out. We've taken out all the fear, all the emotion, because we feel fear too, right? Like we feel, especially if our child is being hurt, our natural instinct is to protect them. So we feel the fear, and we need to let it out to another adult, right? Not to our children.
No, not to our children, and not to go through all the possible solutions with our children either. It's less is more. It's a situation where less is more, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And I try and partner up parents with listening partnerships, because they're a great way of expressing everything and not having anybody try and fix it for you, just having somebody listen.
I love that. I love that so much. All right. So, so we're calm. We've listened to our child explain a situation, a bullying situation that happened. And we've let our children express the emotions that came with that experience. Okay, now what do we do?
That's the question, isn't it? Is what to talk about first. I want to make sure that we do fit into this a little bit of conversation around how we can guide our children to respond to this kind of behaviour, and that will ideally need to be alongside support from like a school counsellor such as yourself in your situation. Certainly wanting school to be supportive of empowering them to respond in the right way, as in an effective way.
Yes.
So let's come on to that, and then I'd like to touch on what we can do at base camp at home to really deepen that connection between us as parents and our child that's going through this, because that will help them in so many ways. That will really help shield them from the wounding that they're going through, but it will also mean that they'll be less interested in or less likely to care about the other child and their connection with the other child and their relationship with that other child, and more likely to care about their relationship with us.
Yes.
So, yeah.
It's so funny because yesterday when I was at work, I had a situation with my 13-year-old student who has received some hyper controlling behavior, some bullying, right? And it's affected her because she skipped a couple classes. And so mom came in yesterday, and I just modeled to mom a conversation that you have with your child, right? And it was about, like, I really believe in empowering our children to not care about what other people think or say about us when we don't even like them, when we don't even, they're nothing to us in our lives, right? We give our power away. We give our power to the person that's doing the hurting. And then I also explain to kids that it's not about you. Somebody that hurts is
Love that.
hurting. Somebody that hurts is hurting. They have experienced hurt, and this is their way of feeling like in control, right?
Yeah.
So if we can reframe
And
it in our
that's
children's minds, right? We have to reframe it in their minds that it's
we do.
that
We have to work on that, and we want everybody in their village of support to be
yes,
consistent in that messaging, right? That this is, you know,
absolutely.
I tell you a secret about this situation. It's not about you at all. It could be about anybody. It could be about this stick. It could
Yes.
be about that tree. This person is just hurting.
And the other thing I say to my students is, you like, why do you feel bad? Did you do something wrong? Did you call someone a name? Did you hurt somebody? No, you didn't. So you know what? You don't need to feel bad. The person doing the wrong should feel bad, right? And that's kind of
But of
like,
course,
again, reframing in your mind. Hold on a second. Why am I feeling bad? I didn't do anything, right?
and so what we want to try and do is help them to respond to the behavior in a way that also gives the message of, like, I don't really care,
Yes.
because then that's going to, like, help put out the fire rather than fuel it.
Yes.
So I love the terms. If a child's facing teasing, for example, you know, the classic 4 eyes is a good one, right? You know, because they'll
Yes.
find anything, won't they? Your dimples, your teeth, you
Doesn't
name
matter.
it.
Hmm.
If they're in need of displaying these kinds of behaviours, they'll find something.
Yes.
So yeah, if a child's facing that sort of teasing behaviour, for them to what we want is to empower them to be able to respond with a kind of, you can say that, I can't stop you, you know, and it removes the oxygen from the fire.
100%.
And it doesn't instantly, and I think it's good to set up a child's expectations that they probably have to have that response consistently, give the same response for maybe a week. If it's happening every day, same sort of response, you can say that. Yeah, I can't stop you.
Or,
Yeah.
or
So what? Yeah. Just
you don't
really neutral.
flatten it down, and also you can walk away and not respond as well, because
Yeah.
you don't have to give power to that negativity, right? You don't have to give any energy to it. So, but I do love that. I do love that kind of like neutral response, it doesn't matter, or I don't care, like,
Yeah.
move on, let's move on,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
because even with the walking away, you know, they may see that as a bit of a chase situation where I'm going to get to you.
Yeah.
So it can just neutralize it. And I know that the behaviours will differ, but that's a great response for teasing. I think if rumours are being spread, which is a common one when you're dealing with teenagers,
Yes.
um, taking the response, if somebody comes up to you and says, do you know that the rumour is that you're doing so and so with so and so, or you did so and so with so and so, and the child can just respond with, do you believe it? And that person will say yes or no, and you go, okay, you can.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah,
Takes it
exactly.
away.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Okay. And so when we're working with our children as parents, okay, like help me here with the base camp. What kind of environment? What do we need in our home to give them the messaging and to empower them that they can handle this situation? Because you know what? We rush to rescue as parents, but really what we need to do is empower them to handle these situations because I told this mom yesterday, we cannot be with our kids all the time. And so we are helping them to manage through these kinds of situations.
Yeah, absolutely. And God, I mean, the most empowering thing for them is to be able to handle it and then see that they did it. So our having a consistent response from us of you did it, that's amazing, you did it constantly until it, passed, that challenge has passed, and bless them, they might face another one further down the line. But that's really a really powerful thing, is to remind them you did that. That's what builds the resilience and the confidence for
Yes,
when they
that's
face
so
the
good.
next challenge. I mean, I would always spend a few sessions with a client looking at how things are going at home and how the relationships are between parents and child,
Yes.
in order to try and deepen the connection and deepen that attachment, because that's what will also shield the child from wounding.
100%, because they need to feel safe with their parents and that they can come to their parents with anything and their parents are not going to flip out or cry hysterically or get really emotional, really emotionally charged. Because when we do that as parents, and I know this just from talking to teenagers for decades, right? When we do that as parents, our kids see us as we can't handle it. They see us as I don't want to upset mom. I don't want
Yeah.
to upset dad. And then they don't want to come to us to talk about what's really going on with them. So we have to really, I call it like this temperature gauge, right? Know where your temperature is. Like, are you overreactive? Are you too hot? Or are you gonna like run away? Are you too cold? Are you gonna withdraw? Like, know what your temperature gauge is. If when you're in a position where you feel strength as a parent, then you know that you can be calm and help your child problem solve. I'm a big believer in problem solving with our children,
Mm.
and asking them, what do you think would help? Because I just feel it
Absolutely.
empowers them and teaches
Yeah,
them.
it really does. It really does. And that's how we learn how to solve problems, right? But I would say that to problem solve with your child, that child does need to be um, in the right place in terms of their nervous system. So I would definitely, in those sessions as I work with parents, I would definitely look at how the child's temperament is at the moment, and whether maybe, well, definitely looking at whether their cup might be full, so
Yes.
how full their cup is.
Yes. Yeah,
Um,
and we can't problem solve when our brain is in an emotional state, right? So sometimes like you said, parents rush to problem solving, but we have to regulate that system, right? We need to be regulated to think logically, to be able to move through the
access
problem.
that part of the brain. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
we
So
do.
that's why it's so important as parents to sit with our children and let them just I say unleash your emotions, like let them express their emotions fully. And then when they're calm, then some problem solving can happen, right? But not till then.
Yeah. And it, as I've said, I will keep saying this because I do empathise and I have been there. I do understand it can be hard to sit with a child whilst they're displaying so much sadness or so much anger. It can be really hard to not want to fix it.
Yes.
But helping them to express the feelings is what will help them adapt, become more resilient, and be able to face it and be able to feel empowered to neutralize it and move on from it.
Yes. Yes. I think when we are quiet and we're just listening, we give the message that your feelings matter and you can express them safely with us, as your parents. I think that's so good. The other thing I wanted to mention, and this has been my experience in my counseling, is sometimes parents get really vengeful and they just want, they want a punishment for the hyper
Yeah,
controlling behavior.
that can happen. Yeah,
That's their focus. And I just want to say, parents, like our focus, our power is with our own children.
that's where your focus needs to go. Take that drive, that emotion that's happening, right? It's there to get you into action, but focus it in the base camp, not on the child that's struggling with hyper controlling behaviors, because that's not your job, is it? That's not going to make a change in that other family. That's for that family to sort out.
Exactly. Our
So
power is with our kids,
yeah,
our own
so
children.
reach out, get some support so that you can really look at what else you can do at base camp to
Yes.
support your child, and they will get through it quicker because of that, and they will come out of it stronger because of that. So
100%.
yeah,
I do want to say though, parents, as a school counselor, like, yes, bring it to the school if it's happening at
oh
school.
yes, yeah,
Absolutely 100%, because we will work with the bully, the hyper controlling behavior child, and we will work with your child who is being bullied. We will work with them both to help them, to teach them, to monitor, right? That everyone feels safe in the school. And if we don't know what's happening, we cannot address it. And our jobs I mean, as a school counselor and teachers in the school, our job really are to help our students feel safe, and they don't feel safe if they're being bullied. So as parents, you have every right to go to the school, and you should, because the school
absolutely,
can
yeah.
help.
And
Yeah.
in my role, I have done some work with schools and with parents with the school. We've taken a kind of multi person approach, and that's where the most success lies. So I totally agree with you. Because yeah, you
Yes.
want everybody on board, and there's more that the school can do to empower your child as well. And they can, for example, there's strategies they can put in place, like a buddy system for all the
Yes.
children.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, there's lots of really, really effective things that can be done. So don't lose hope. Just reach out for support.
Absolutely, 100%. I love that. I love that so much. Yeah, because we want to empower our kids. We want them to feel good at home and at school. And we don't want the problem to get worse. So we do have to address it, quite well, because I get very upset when I hear that students have been bullied for years. That really upsets me, because then I feel like the adults in their lives have failed them. And we can't fail them. We have to
You can
address.
only do what you can do when you know what you know. And if
Yes.
this is why we're doing this, right, to get that information out there and share it as much.
Yes. Yes. It's always good to address it right away so it doesn't progress, doesn't get worse and
Yeah,
affect our child's thinking about themselves. Because when it goes on too long, it starts to affect their self-esteem, right? So we have
Yeah,
to be careful of that. Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. I'm
That's
sorry, my
perfect.
dog started barking in the
Oh, it's
background.
okay. It's okay. It's
Uh,
okay. All right, parents.
just
So,
shut the door.
okay,
Yeah.
I'm just going to do a recap of Joe's tips. Okay, so first of all, I know it's hard. Joe said it's hard. She works with parents on this, but we have to be calm, even though it upsets us, because it is upsetting when our children are upset. But we have to be calm and let our children express their feelings and their emotions, and we just listen and talk less and just listen. And then once our child is calm, and then we can address it and give them empowering messages and also ways to handle what's happening uh, at school or wherever it's happening, so that we empower them. And then we also need to create that base camp safety at home, and we need to involve the school if it's happening at school so that they can address it as well. So is that good? Is that good, Joe? Did I forget anything?
No, that's great. I mean, that's great. There's so much that we could talk about. I would absolutely just add, get as much support as you can so that you can
Perfect.
really work on deepening that attachment and connection. There's some,
Uh,
we haven't got
uh,
time now, have we? But there's some really simple little shifts, stuff you'll be doing already, but just, increasing things that you're doing already that are working well, and just
yes.
doing them a bit more consistently can make a huge, huge difference for your child.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, Joe, I am going to put all of your links with the podcast notes, but do you want to just let parents know where how to get in contact with you?
Sure. Well, go to my website, which is Invisible Thread PC. So it stands for Visible Thread Parent
Okay,
Coaching.com. And
excellent.
everything's on there that you'll need.
That's
I
so
would like
good.
to mention, Anne, that I
Yes.
am running a group parent coaching program with my partner organisation, Great Parenting Simplified. And we're offering free support sessions at the moment, parent support sessions, for anyone that might be interested in getting some support or joining the group program. So I will also put that link to the show notes.
Oh, excellent. That's so great. That'd be really great for parents. Well, thank you so much, Joe, for coming for part two. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate all your expertise.
Thanks for having
And
me.
yes, thank you so much. And parents, thank you. You know, I love you and we're here for you. Reach out if you need support and stay tuned for the next episode. Take care, everybody. Thank you, parents, for joining the show today. I hope it was valuable and that you have some useful tools to use with your children. If this show blessed you or changed you in any way, I would appreciate a review on my podcast, or subscribe to my YouTube channel, or perhaps you could even recommend our Masterful Parenting to your family and friends. Thank you so much, parents.